Hello. I wanted to talk a little bit about different shapes of bacteria because they come in all sorts of exciting shapes. In this class, we usually talk about the cocci bacteria. Those would be the little spheres, and they can come in different arrangements. Diplococci tend to come in pairs. Streptococci tend to come in long chains. Staphylococci tend to arrange themselves in clumps, and often these clumps look like clusters of grapes. That's where the name Staphylococci comes from. I believe it's ancient Greek for bunches of grapes. Sometimes they also come in tetrads. The reason for these arrangements is that when the bacteria divide, they don't separate very much from the parent cell. Another shape that you might encounter is the bacillus. That is a rod-shaped bacteria. Sometimes we just call them rods, sometimes we call them bacilli. And some different arrangements that you might find those in would be diplobacilli, which is just two next to one another. Pallicides, which are going to be the ones similar to the corin bacteriums that you saw in some of those slides from earlier in the week, where they're arranged in semi-parallel arrangement. And there's also streptobacilli, as you saw in one of the pictures for this past week also, where it was long chains of rod-shaped bacteria. There are some other shapes that we discussed briefly. The Vibrio, for example, which are comma-shaped. We talked about the fusiform bacteria very briefly as something that might be found in dental plaque. And this is an example of what a fusiform bacteria looks like. It's a longer, skinny rod type shape, but it's going to have very pointy ends and will be fatter in the middle. There are also club-shaped bacteria, like the corin bacteriums. Those actually have a club shape. There are also helicals, and there are corkscrews. There are spirochetes. These corkscrews are also called spirilli or spirilla. They're my favorite because it rhymes with my name. There are also filamentous bacteria. And then when you talk about the ones that have a sort of skinny end and a fatter end, you might talk about it being the body or the stalk of the bacteria. In this one, the comma form, it's showing it with a flagella at the end. That's just a structure on it. And then some of these are shown with hypha or hyphae on the outsides of them. We're not going to be too concerned about those in this class because you're not going to really see those in any of the light microscope slides. The difference between the spirillum and the spirochete is going to be how tightly coiled they are. Same with the helical. They're just less tightly coiled and generally shorter. But bacteria come in all sorts of amazing shapes and sizes. And I'm sure there's more besides these here on this list, but I wanted to introduce you to a few of our friends.